Disparities by Deshae Johnson, Southern University. Okay. In Font's research, research conducted a national sample of 1,461 child protective services. The sample was to examine the difference between black and white families involved in case workers. Two methods was introduced: the difference in difference method and the blender oxide decomposition method. Researchers found that racial disparities are mostly found in black families, and they are the main target. And another sample. The data was consisted of 5,000 case investigations involved with black and white families, and there was no difference when the two methods were introduced. The only issue that was basically found was that racial families, black families, are the main target in caseworkers dealing with CPS. Okay, another researcher done research on how racial disparities in the child welfare community has embarked on implementing the practical solutions rather than acknowledging the problem. Like, they rather just find different ways to brush the problem off than they actually go in and try to find the main focus. Like they was saying, researchers said that racial disparity is not just about race; it gets more in depth with how living race was. Like, they said that a lot of cases dealing with poverty rather than racial issues. Like, they're looking at it from other different perspectives. Like, they only see that black American families are only struggling, that leads them to be involved in case management working because they can't afford to take care of their kids, while the white side, they are involved, but they're not actually the target. Like, they're not in the main topic. And numerous acts take place in 2010. An incident occurred while they researched study and the data came all together, and it seems to find out that what they were believing was not actually the actual truth about what was actually going on. Research done by Quintavier and Levert basically talks about how there are different cases reported of child abuse, and it's just not in the black community. Like, there's numerous. Like, they have different other groups besides black African Americans, families in the community. And the research was basically saying that there are Asian people who are in the community, like, who are currently dealing with being racial profiled and put them in the category of not having the necessities that need that. If CPS would look beyond the target of just focusing on one particular race and how poverty plays a part in it. It's just not about your color of your skin. It's dealing with more of how you are as an individual. Like, your environment can play a role in how you are living. How different cultures work, rather than just looking at it from a different point of view, of their point of view, or looking at it like they are in this situation because they choose to. Like, you have to look at it like you have to understand their culture. Like, maybe they were in this situation because there is no way out for them. Like, this is all they know. This is all how they were raised. As far as caseworkers should get familiar with the families they're dealing with, and look at it from their cultural background and their social background. Like, you should not just look at it from what you see. Like, you have to dig deep. Like, you have to know the family history of what you're dealing with. Maybe John came from a broken home where all he knew was to stay in this environment. He didn't have the motivation to leave. So I think caseworkers should look more into that rather than just looking on the outside when they go into the community and see, oh, well, John stays in this community. This is why he's in this situation. This is why he's abusing his kids, when John doesn't have the extra resources he needs to take care of his child. The study concluded that if individuals will just look at it from different point of views, not looking at it from a racial point, like, because everybody struggles. Low-income families should be able to receive the sort of resources that they need to be able to take care of their families, rather than them just being judged and their kids are taken away. I believe, like, if you give them the resources they need, put them in parenting classes, counseling, help them rather than just judging them, racial disparities in child welfare would decrease. It wouldn't be as huge issue as it is today. Like when research has done different studies, they've found out that racial issues do exist in child welfare, but the biggest issue was poverty and not knowing the social part about people's life. They're just looking at it from the other point of view of their point of view, not like the culture, their background. You never know what's actually going on until you actually sit down and study the culture of an individual rather than what you see on the outside, rather than what you see on the inside, because the environment does not justify who you are as a person.